Sekhmet, a lion goddess, opener of the third eye, the psychic sense, transmission of the primordial power, the seat from the base of the spine, the original position, the portal of manifestation building up through the heart center, up through the tonal sacred chakra of the throat, of the expression of the word, out through the head. Sekhmet, the bringer of fire, who ignites the third eye, the primordial first flame of eternal sight. Her power is not of this earth. She is not like Isis or Sophia or Maria, the divine feminine essences of this worldly manifestation. Sekhmet is a lion goddess. Her power is otherworldly. Yes, we're talking about weird things, but why are you listening to me? Why are you talking to me? Why are you here? Why are you following this person at all? I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm not your leader. You shouldn't be listening to me. I don't know what I'm talking about at all. I'm the biggest screw-up that there is. It's the early 90s and I just conned myself. I hoodwinked and baffled myself. I convinced myself to become a criminal, and I don't know what I'm talking about. All I know is, leave me alone. Get away from me. I'm not the guy you're looking for. My name doesn't matter. This is hot conflict, and this, as always, is the strangest story you've ever heard. I'm confused. I'm out of my mind. I don't know what's going on in the world, and I can't understand what is happening, and I'm thinking there's a clash coming. The East, the West, and there seems to be things happening that are beyond our control. And I think if I could just get out of here, go somewhere, find somewhere, be away from everybody. I don't want to be involved in anything. I don't want to have anything to do with anybody. I need everybody to leave me alone. I'm not the guy you're looking for. Get away from me. I need to be by myself. I'm confused. I need solitude. I need 100 years of solitude. I gotta get out of here. I don't understand what's going on. I'm born and raised in the West and I can see something's happening, but it's so confusing and there's powers beyond our control doing things that we can't even comprehend. And I want to leave. And I'm thinking, should I go to the tribal areas? Where can I go? And then, before you know it, just when everything starts to change and I'm so desperate, on probation, peeing in a cup at the worst state of my life, I'm on a plane, flying to the kingdom of Saudi Arabia as a guest of the king with a full scholarship to Al-Qura University in Mecca, the holy city, where only those who believe La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, the testimony of faith of the believers. There is only one God, one supreme creator, one grand architect of all that is, one planner, one original source, a light of all lights, greater than anything of his creation, high above all that he has created, of the seven skies, and all the inner realms of the seven earths, and all the beings of light and darkness, of mankind and angels, and the other races, as we now know. And I'm off to the kingdom, not knowing anything, except what we all learn in Sunday school and a basic amount of knowledge. And I'm going to learn there, in the holy city, that which we call the mother of cities. And there I am for the first time, enjoying what I dreamed of. To be away from anyone that knew me, to be totally in a new place with a clean start, a clean slate, away from everybody, in a brand new world, there, by the holy Kaaba. And I'm going to school, and I'm a student, and I'm studying the language, and I'm there, by the holy house, making the tawaf, the circumambulation around the holy house of Mecca. And like I said, brothers and students, many people studied and studied hard. Of course, I studied and read my books and went to my classes, but more than anything, I spent time just staring at the Kaaba and watching the people. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. What a beautiful sight. It's so amazing and mesmerizing and enchanting. The level of peace and what we call salam. The knowledge that there are many prophets and messengers from our father Adam and Noah and Abraham who built the holy house in Mecca with his son Ishmael. And then Jacob and his 12 sons, and Joseph and Moses and Solomon and David and Jesus, son of Mary. And our final messenger Muhammad from the holy city of Mecca. There I am, watching the situation. And for the first time, I'm in a kingdom where we have a king. And it's a totally new situation for me. I mean, I'm born and raised in the West. I lived in the States and went to high school there and lived in Egypt. And Egypt is kind of an open society. You don't have a king. You have, people complaining about the government. But people are pretty open and lax in Egypt. And you see everything all over the place. But Saudi Arabia, you've all heard the stories about what goes on in the kingdom. We wonder how primitive and backward it is. And then, specifically, the holy cities of Mecca and Medina, where only those who are Muslims are allowed in. I'm there, in the holy city of Mecca. Now, a resident of Mecca. My name is Salim, son of Shamshad, from the family of Siddiq. And ask yourself, who do you know in your life who is a resident or was a resident of Mecca? It's important, brothers and sisters. So there I am, for the story, for the purpose of information. It wasn't my first visit to the Holy House. I had done Umrah after I left Egypt, and even as a younger man, at the age of 14, 15 years old, at adulthood, brothers and sisters, I'd performed the Hajj with my parents. So I'd already performed the obligatory fard Hajj. But this was the first time I was there by myself. I was a student, I was living on campus, I was going to classes. I was totally alone, an independent individual, no strings, no attachment, and I was going to get to be a resident of Mecca, performing the sacred pilgrimage as had been done by my forefathers for hundreds of years before. I would walk it, do it by myself, do it the traditional way, be totally gung-ho with it. I'm now here. I live in Mecca. This is the coolest thing in the world. That was my plan. That was my dream. And I was here living it out, from being in the worst situation in the world to now the highlight of the situation. And I'm there planning it out. Everything was going better than can ever be imagined. One day, I'm walking around campus and see, it was the early 90s. You hear on the press all the time in the media about who was at these fundamentalist training places, who was at these fundamentalist schools in Saudi Arabia. Well, in the early 90s, most of the people who were there in these schools were from mostly African nations who were Muslim, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Afghanistan, a lot of the former Soviet Union Republic countries, the Tajikistan, Dagestan, a lot of these nations, brothers and sisters from China. And al-Qura, that university, also had a girls' university, of course separate from the men and the women, and separate full campuses. As you know, they have a gender separation there in a lot of their institutions, and so the university was also likewise. But al-Qura had a female branch where they taught all the different various sciences and knowledge there also. And so you had people coming from all over the world, the Muslim countries, who the government of Saudi Arabia promoted or sponsored with stipend and a tuition allowance and usually airfare to the kingdom, and then they train them and provide them with the education in the traditional Arabic language, and then bachelor's and master's of degrees and whatever various programs they have. And there are students coming to Mecca, and there are students coming to Medina. Now, for those in the FBI and the analyst community who are paying attention to the story, you already know that the majority of the brothers were going to Medina. Mecca was a very small handful. Now, I, being one of the few people who was in Mecca, can tell you that the majority of those of us who are from the West were a few brothers from Europe that were either converts who had accepted Islam and then had gotten sponsored, or brothers and sisters from, mostly brothers, African-American brothers, who had either been former Nation of Islam brothers, Warith Deen, or people who had come to Mecca to try and find out the truth for themselves, and the various political ramifications of elder brothers who were in their 30s, 40s, who had gone through the 60s and 70s period. I was considered the younger guy, right? I'm in my early 20s. I'm also one of the only people there who's from the West, born a Muslim, meaning my father's a Muslim, my mother was Christian but accepted Islam before I was born. So I'm one of the younger people coming from the West, primarily because my parents migrated, or my dad migrated, and my mom also, to the West at an early age for them in time, and I was born younger, and so I'm there as one of the only Muslim born and raised there. One day we're on campus, and a guy comes running through the hall saying they're calling the Western brothers to come down, the British brother, you, Salim, they want you to come down to the main office. So I'm with one of the African-American brothers, and I say, let's all go down. They're calling for all the Western American brothers. Let's go down and see what's going on. Turns out they got some director coming in, and they want to do a Hajj documentary. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is starting to promote a better image. They want to promote the Hajj. This is the early 90s, right? The Gulf War had just happened. The economic difficulties in Saudi Arabia were just starting to kick in, and the economy was a little bit stagnant. The cost of the Gulf War was being placed on the kingdom, and things were getting a little rough. And so the idea of promoting Hajj and tourism for the sacred site of pilgrimage started to become a more dominant issue in the kingdom. And so they'd sent out a crew to come to the university to get people from various places around the world to be in this documentary. And so they wanted Western or European looking people to be in the movie. And there we are in this office, me and a couple of the African-American brothers, and they're looking for white people to represent Muslims in America. And so there's this one British brother who's totally white, and then there's me, right? My mom's British, so I'm white, and I'm from America, I speak English. So my name's Salim Siddiqui, and I get put in the official Hajj documentary produced by the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And there I am on my first Hajj being featured in a film, being produced by the very king himself and a crew, filming me perform the rituals of Hajj, including going around the holy house in Mecca. Now, for me at the time, it just seemed like a random event. It didn't seem like that much of a big deal. I did the filming. They, drove us around during the Hajj. It was kind of a casual Hajj, and then, it was over for me. I didn't realize at the time that from that year on, what was that, 92, 93, that every year, brothers and sisters, on every channel in Saudi Arabia, for weeks before the Hajj, everybody in the world, millions upon millions of people, for the last 15 or 20 years, have watched that video over and over and over again. And then this video has gotten sent to every masjid and organization all over the world by the production of the Saudi government.